Hey there everyone, my name is Toch and welcome to the first ever University Sucks video. So before I get into today's content, a little bit about myself and this channel. I am a student at the University of Maryland. I'm a computer engineering major and I'm a sophomore, so this is my second year doing this. And I just decided to make this channel for two main reasons. First off, I just want a way of, remembering the things that I've learned in the past, because, if you keep using the stuff you've learned, it's hard to forget them. And secondly, because, I've been in the situation that some of you who clicked on this video have been, looking for math help. And so I just, I can relate to you guys, and I just want to give back, the knowledge I have, I just want to give it out there and, and whatnot. But, more about this channel, I plan to make a bunch of videos, mostly on STEM-based classes, so math. Math, the classes I've taken, that is, Math 115, Calculus 1, Calculus 2, once I'm done with it this semester. Physics, chemistry, possibly, and definitely computer science, CMSE, and whatnot. So, but for today's video, I'm going to be focusing on Math 115, which is pre-calculus at the University of Maryland, and more specifically, I'm going to be focusing on quadratic inequalities and table of signs as a method of solving quadratic inequalities. So if you look on the screen, you can see an example of a quadratic inequality. Quadratic inequalities just basically mean, inequalities, but there's the x is to the power of greater than 1. So power greater than 1. For this one, it's x squared. So let's start on how to do that. So the first step to doing a table of signs is you want to figure out the zeros of your equation. So what values of x are going to make this equal to 0? So we have two factors here. We have 3x minus 6 and 5 minus 10x. So let's start with 3x minus 6. So we say 3x minus 6 is equal to 0 and solve that. Plus 6 plus 6. So that's 3x is equal to 6. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. X is equal to 2. That's 1, 0. So now let's do 5 minus 10x. 5 minus 10x is equal to 0. Subtract 5 to both sides, and you get negative 10x is equal to negative 5. The negatives can cancel each other out. Those are cancels, not plus signs. And so you would have 10x is equal to 5. Now divide both sides by 10. Divide by 10. And you would have x is equal to 1/2. So now that we know our factors, the next step to take is creating our table of signs. And here's how you do it. So you have an x, excuse me, 1 second. Let's get the pen back. So you have an x, and then you draw, another mistake. Keep in mind this is my first ever YouTube video, so it feels kind of weird just sitting and talking to a laptop, so bear with me. So what were our factors again? I believe they were 3x minus 6. So you put the factors right here. That happened again. Okay, so 3x minus 6. You draw, there. What's going on with this thing? Okay, you know what? Let's slow down. Alright, pen. Alright, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? Alright, fixed. Like I said again, first video ever, so bear with me on this. And 5 minus 10x. Okay, just imagine that's needed. It's needed in that. Alright. So what you want to do next is you want to plot those factors, and you want to plot the things in between them and, outside of them. So first of all, we start from negative infinity. And then here is going to be everything between negative infinity and our first factor, or rather our first 0, which was 1/2, because 1/2 comes before 2. So 1/2. Everything between 1/2 and then 2 goes here. Everything between 2 and then positive infinity goes here. So what's next is you want to plot the zeros in the right spots. So what was the 0 for 3x minus 6? That was 2. You plug 2 in, you get 0. What was the 0 for 5 plus 10x? Actually, I think that was a minus 10x. Let me verify that real quick. Okay, yes, that was a minus 10x, my mistake. Let's fix that. Eraser. Gone. Let's go back to the pen. So that's a minus 10x. Okay, yeah, minus. Alright, so what was the 0 for that again? That was 1/2, so you put 0 right here. So now let's fill the rest of the spaces with signs, which is what's put in them. So if you put in a number greater than 2 into 3x minus 6, for example 3, let's put 3 in there. You get 9 minus 6. That's great. That's a positive number. So everything from here on is positive, and everything to the left of the 0 is going to be negative. Same logic for 5 minus 10x. If you put a number in greater than 1/2, for example 1, you put 1 in there, that's 5 minus 10, that's a negative. So everything to the right of the 0 is negative, everything to the left is positive. So now you just multiply straight down. So a negative times a positive, that's a negative. Negative times positive, negative, that's a 0, that's a positive, that's a 0, that's a negative, and that's a negative. So now, the next step to take here is looking at your inequality sign. It asks for the values, it asks for the answers that are greater than or equal to 0. So you want to look at all the positives and all the zeros in your answers in this table of signs. Forgot that for a second. So where do we find numbers, a group of numbers, or a set of numbers that are greater than or equal to 0? Well, it's right here, from 1/2. Get my pen back again. Okay, having a little bit of difficulties. Okay, so from 1/2 to 2. And so we use closed parentheses, or braces rather, because, you know, it says greater than or equal to, meaning that they're included in the set. So then you write it as this would be your answer, 1/2 to 2. And that's your answer. Alright, I have another example here. Let's see it. Okay, so this one's a bit more tricky. The same logic applies, but you just have to do a little bit more work for this one. Alright, so here we have a division. So you want to think of the same process, the zeros for each factor. So I'm just gonna speed through it. I'm sure if you can equate each one to 0 and solve it, you know, you can do that, but I'm just gonna speed through it. Okay, so our zeros, get back my pen. Our zeros are gonna be, come on, don't do that. Alright, so x minus 2, what's the 0 for that when x is equal to 2? So x is equal to 2. Let's just eraser. Let's erase this. Oop, technical difficulties again. Medium eraser. Okay, so it's going to be 0 when x is equal to, you know what, let's just draw the table out to make things go faster. And it'll probably be easier that way. Okay, so x minus 2 squared, 3 minus x, and then you draw a line. Just put arrows on it, just so you know that this is the divisor line, and that everything below it is your denominator. It's just, you know, just cause, as a way of knowing. So then you put 2x plus 1, and then you put 3, oops, what's going on here? 3x plus 12. Alright, so our zeros here are going to be, alright, let's start with negative infinity. So you're going to have negative 4, and then space for everything between negative 4 and the next 0, which is negative 1/2. Space between negative 1/2 and the next 0, which is 2. Space between 2 and the next 0, which is 3. Space between 3, and then positive infinity. So we can just go over this. Negative 4 is the 0 for 3x plus 12. Negative 1/2 is the 0 for 2x plus 1. 3 is the 0 for 3 minus x, and 2 is the 0 for x minus 2. So now, let's draw a line here, dividing those guys, and a line here, dividing these guys. Alright, and a line here for our final signs that's going to give us our answers. Let's just elongate these a bit. Alright. So, let's start with x minus 2. The 0 was, we said, 2. So because it's squared, it doesn't matter what sign it is. It's always going to be positive. You know, whether or not it's a negative, it's always going to be positive because you're going to square it. Negative times a negative is a positive. So everything is just going to be a plus. on both sides of the 0. Everything. So now moving to 3 minus x. So let's go right here. It's a 0 here. If you put in a 4 for x, you get a negative number. So everything on the right is negative. Everything on the left of the 0 is positive. So positive, 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 positive. 2x plus 1, the 0 is negative 1/2. If you put in negative 1, for example, you'd get a, I'm sorry, not negative 1. If you put in 0, you'd get a positive number. So everything to the right of the 0 is positive. Everything to the left is negative. Because if you put any negative number in here, it'll just be negative. Any negative number more negative than 1/2. Alright. If you put, okay, now 3x plus 12, the 0 for this guy is 4, negative 4, my bad. So let's try putting in a less negative number than negative 4, negative 3 for example. You get negative 9, so that's positive. So everything to the right of the 0 is positive, and everything to the left is negative. So now you just multiply across. So positive times positive, that's positive. Negative times negative, that's positive. So positive times positive, that's positive. This is a 0, but because this 0 is in the denominator, it makes it undefined. So you put an x right here because the 0 is in the denominator. So positive, positive, that's positive. Negative, positive, that's negative. Negative times a positive, that's negative. Because if you let's do this slowly. This is how you do it. Two positives in the numerator makes it a positive in the numerator. A negative and a positive in the denominator makes it a negative in the denominator. And so a negative divided by, the positive divided by a negative makes it negative. Okay, so we have another 0 in the denominator. So that makes this undefined also. And so we have positives straight through. I believe this is a plus. Yes, my bad. So positive straight through, that's a plus. Then that's a 0 because the 0 is in the numerator. That's also a plus. That's a 0 because the 0 is in the numerator. This is going to be a negative because the negative in the numerator, positive in the denominator, so negative. And this is going to be another negative. Oh, my bad. My pen went away for a second again. Alright. Negative, negative. Alright. So now, we're going to the inequality says greater than or equal to 0. So what set of numbers do you see here that are greater than or equal to 0? Well, we see a few. So we see, first of all, negative infinity to negative 4. So, parentheses, my pen went away again. So, parentheses here. But because this is 4, it's undefined at negative 4, we're also going to leave a parentheses here. And we're going to have a union because it breaks. It breaks at negative 4. So, where do we continue at? From negative 1/2, which is also an undefined, so we use an open parentheses, all the way through 3. So we close parentheses here. Close parentheses. So the answer then is equal to negative infinity to negative 4 union negative 1/2 to 3 close parentheses. Close bracket. So this is how you would do it using the table of sides. So that's the end for this video. My apologies if I may have not spoken clearly enough, may have rushed things. Like I said, this is my first video. Hopefully more to come. And I just hope this video has made this concept clearer for you. Made it easy to understand. So if you have any questions you want to ask, a set of problems you want me to solve, don't feel free to email me. My email is going to be in the description of the video. And yeah, thank you for watching, and please stop by my channel again for more help.